On a rainy day, Amane sees Mahiru sitting on a park swing without an umbrella. He approaches her and offers her his umbrella. Mahiru declines, but Amane insists and leaves before she can thank him. The next day, Amane has a cold, which his friend Itsuki notices. Amane explains that he gave his umbrella to someone, but doesn't say who. Mahiru chats with classmates nearby, drawing admiring comments. Amane lists Mahiru's virtues and mentions that many boys want to date her, but not him. Itsuki suggests having a girlfriend would make his life easier, but Amane dismisses the idea. After school, Amane finds Mahiru waiting at his apartment door. She wants to return his umbrella, but Amane refuses, growing faint from his cold. Mahiru insists on taking care of him, but recoils at the mess inside. She leaves to prepare, while Amane changes clothes. That evening, Amane wakes up to find Mahiru by his bedside with rice porridge. She serves it to him, but refuses to feed him. Amane compliments the taste, and Mahiru downplays her cooking. After finishing, Amane asks why Mahiru sat on the swing in the rain. She denies having a boyfriend argument and explains she needed to cool her head. Mahiru apologizes for his cold, but Amane brushes it off, admitting he enjoyed their time together. He realizes that tomorrow they'll be strangers again. The next day, their lives return to normal, as he thought. That evening, Amane enjoys a jelly energy package, prompting Mahiru to prepare leftovers for him. Amane returns the box, but Mahiru insists on giving him another for dinner. Continuing this routine from then on. Then, one day, Amane asks Itsuki if he looks unhealthy. Itsuki jokes that he does, but notes Amane's face has more color recently. Amane runs into Mahiru at the supermarket. They chat, and Amane insists on carrying her grocery bag home. The following day, Mahiru visits Amane as he cleans his apartment. She helps him, and they finish together. Amane suggests ordering pizza, and Mahiru admits it's her first time having delivered pizza. They enjoy it while discussing Mahiru's in-school personality. Before leaving, Mahiru reveals that she gives Amane her leftovers for self-satisfaction. With that, the two begin an unusual relationship. At dusk, Amane finds Mahiru sitting unhappily at the park and learns she tried rescuing a cat stuck in a tree. Seeing her injury, Amane fetches medical supplies and treats her sprained ankle. He gives her his sweater and carries her home to avoid recognition. The next day, Itsuki remarks on Amane's unusual gym attire, which he dismisses. They notice Yuta, nicknamed Prince, with admiring girls. Amane spots Mahiru nearby. That evening, Mahiru returns Amane's sweater and brings a new food box. They discuss Yuta's and Mahiru's popularity. Talk turns to the meal Mahiru made, and Amane expresses his desire to try fresh korokke. Mahiru offers to cook for him if he pays half the cost, and Amane agrees. The following day, Mahiru cooks a meal for Amane in his apartment, and they enjoy it together. Afterward, Amane washes the dishes while Mahiru dries them. She offers to cook for him regularly, and Amane accepts. At school, Itsuki urges Amane to get a girlfriend, but Amane is uninterested. Chi, Itsuki's girlfriend, wants Amane to have a girlfriend so she can befriend her. Amane is reluctant due to Chi's clinginess. Later, Amane finishes cleaning dishes as Mahiru grades her math prep test. She admits she must study to maintain her perfect grades. She leaves, dropping her student ID, which Amane picks up and returns, noticing her upcoming birthday. Another day, Amane asks Mahiru if there's anything she'd like. She requests a sharpening stone with a finer grit. At school, Amane seeks Itsuki's advice on gifts for girls, and he suggests hand cream. After school, Chi suggests candy, a handkerchief, a small bag, or a stuffed animal. Amane asks Chi to help buy a stuffed animal in exchange for a deluxe crepe. Later, as Mahiru reads on Amane's couch, he presents her with a bag containing hand cream and a stuffed teddy bear for her birthday. Mahiru is initially upset that Amane knew her birthday from her student ID, but loves the teddy bear. Shihoko, Amane's mother, visits his home unexpectedly and forces her way into his apartment. She notes its cleanliness and Amane's clear skin. Before entering, Amane had Mahiru hide in his room. Spotting dishes for two, Shihoko checks Amane's room and finds Mahiru despite his protests. Shihoko deduces they're dating and asks Mahiru's name. Mahiru introduces herself, and Shihoko concludes they're in a relationship. Mahiru explains she only cooks for Amane, but Shihoko thanks her for supporting him. Amane confesses his mother's obstinacy. Shihoko demands an explanation about their relationship. Learning they're neighbors, she deems their meeting fate and shares tidbits about Amane. Amane demands his mother leave. Yeah, no one wants their mother crowding their style. She agrees, but exchanges contact information with Mahiru first. After Shihoko leaves, Amane apologizes for his mother's behavior. Mahiru downplays it and compliments Shihoko. Amane belittles his mother, but Mahiru thinks highly of her for using her first name. They agree to address each other by their first names publicly from now on. Mahiru tries returning Amane's spare key, but he lets her keep it longer. They argue briefly, ending with Mahiru agreeing to borrow it. The next day, Amane places 21st in the second term finals test. Mahiru first. To celebrate, Amane buys Mahiru a strawberry shortcake. They feed each other pieces while enjoying it. One day, Amane goes food shopping to practice cooking. He runs into Mahiru by the elevator. Learning his plans, Mahiru insists on supervising. Under her guidance, Amane struggles with an omelet and a vegetable dish. Mahiru tries the omelet, noting it's bland and resembles scrambled eggs. She serves him an omelet she made and motivates him to try harder. In school, Chitose invites Amane to a pizza party, but he refuses. Chitose asks if he's spending time with his girlfriend, referring to the stuffed animal. Amane clarifies it was for his neighbor. Chitose persuades him to agree and sets the date for Christmas Eve. Amane asks Mahiru about her Christmas Eve plans. She claims to have none. Amane invites her to his party with Itsuki and Chitose. Mahiru promises not to intervene and claims she's fine alone. Feeling guilty, Amane offers to spend Christmas with her. Mahiru agrees, wanting to play video games together. Chitose and Itsuki enjoy a pizza party on Christmas Eve at Amane's apartment. Seeing snow, they rush onto the balcony and spot Mahiru's apartment next door. Around Amane's coffee table, Amane, Mahiru, Itsuki, and Chitose discuss Mahiru being Amane's neighbor. Itsuki expresses confusion that Amane lacks feelings for Mahiru, likening her to a wife-in-training. Amane and Mahiru deny this. Amane asks Itsuki and Chitose to keep their relationship secret. They agree. Chitose compliments Mahiru excessively, stopping only when Amane intervenes. Chitose apologizes and asks Mahiru to be her friend. Mahiru accepts and Chitose introduces herself and Itsuki formally. The conversation shifts to Mahiru's cooking hobby, which Chitose also enjoys. Amane apologizes to Mahiru for the encounter, but she dismisses it. Mahiru fetches beef stew that she prepared and announces tomorrow's lunch, beef stew with omu rice. After enjoying their meal, Amane asks Mahiru how she learned to cook. She credits her caretaker and shares her belief in cooking fine meals for those who make you happy. Mahiru admits her cooking isn't as good as her caretaker's. A touching moment occurs and they plan to meet the next day for lunch and video games. The following day, after lunch, Mahiru plays a game and dies. Amane assists her, realizing he got too close and backs off. He apologizes, but Mahiru doesn't mind. Later, Mahiru plays a racing game and leans into turns, tipping over into Amane's lap. Embarrassed, Amane thinks nothing of it. That night, Mahiru wins the racing game. Amane gives her a key case as a Christmas present. Mahiru appreciates it and mentions Amane's mother sent her an old picture of him. After a brief moment, Mahiru gives Amane a thick, black scarf. They share a scene, and Mahiru steps onto the balcony, becoming cold. Amane puts a jacket around her, and they spend the night there. The next day, Mahiru appears flushed. Amane deduces she has a cold, but Mahiru denies it. Amane takes her temperature, revealing a minor fever. He insists she rest in his room. The day after, Amane checks on Mahiru. She admits feeling groggy, but better. Amane decides to stay and talk until she sleeps. Once she does, Amane confesses that Mahiru is bad for his heart. It's New Year's, and Amane and Mahiru watch Buddhist monks ring the temple bell on TV. They respond to New Year's texts, and Amane's father asks to visit in a couple of days. Amane approves, but Mahiru falls asleep on his shoulder. Amane tries to wake her, fails, and lets her use his bed while he sleeps on the couch. The next day, Amane wakes Mahiru. Mahiru asks if Amane likes touching her cheeks when she's asleep. Later, Amane's parents, Shihoko and Shuto, arrive. Shihoko reacquaints herself with Mahiru, and Shuto introduces himself, thanking Mahiru for caring for his son. Shihoko asks if they visited the shrine. Amane says that they haven't, pleasing Shihoko, who brought a kimono for Mahiru. Amane is against visiting the temple with Mahiru, but relents to Shihoko's insistence. Shuto compliments Amane's appearance and has a heart-to-heart with him. Amane confirms he's glad he moved there. Shihoko reveals Mahiru wearing the kimono, impressing Amane. While Shihoko and Shuto prepare the car, Amane and Mahiru discuss their attire. At the temple, Mahiru and Amane draw attention due to their outfits. They pray, and later, Amane asks Mahiru what she prayed for. Mahiru answers, health, safety, and peaceful days. Mahiru shares her red bean soup with Amane, who shares his sweet sake with her. A brief, humorous scene occurs, and Amane recalls an incident involving Chitose and Itsuki. That night, Mahiru and Amane say goodnight, reflecting on the pleasant dinner with Amane's parents. Their conversation turns embarrassing when Amane pats Mahiru's head, and she rushes to her apartment, calling him a dummy. The next day, Amane and Mahiru see his parents off. Amane promises to visit them over the summer. They return to Amane's apartment, and Mahiru has a heart-to-heart with Amane about his personality. A rumor spreads at school that Mahiru has a boyfriend after being seen with a handsome man at the temple. Itsuki figures out Amane is the rumored boyfriend, annoying him. Amane and Mahiru discuss the rumor. Amane finds it uncomfortable being called her boyfriend, but Mahiru rebukes him for his low opinion of himself and lists his positive traits. Flustered, Amane insists on washing the dishes. Mahiru agrees, hiding her face with a pillow. Amane wonders why she complimented him if she'd be so embarrassed. Chitose visits Amane's apartment for Valentine's Day advice. She plans to give Itsuki special chocolates, but feels uneasy discussing it with Mahiru present. Chitose asks Amane's chocolate preference. He likes semi-sweet. Pleased, Chitose asks Mahiru about her Valentine's Day plans. Mahiru will give chocolates to her female friends and promises Chitose some too. The next day, popular first-year Yuta receives many chocolates. Amane and Itsuki discuss this and the Russian roulette chocolates Chitose made for Itsuki. Itsuki asks if Mahiru made Amane chocolates. He denies it. Later, Chitose gives Amane her chocolates, confirming they're Russian roulette. Before leaving, Amane gives Yuta his spare bag to carry the chocolates home. Days pass, and Amane tries one of Chitose's chocolates, eating a spicy one. Mahiru serves him hot cocoa. Amane asks if she made it for Valentine's Day. Mahiru vaguely confirms it. Amane thanks her, and Mahiru leaves abruptly but leaves a bag with a thank you note containing orangettes, matching Amane's chocolate preference. The following day, Yuta thanks Amane for the bag, surprising their classmates. Itsuki approaches Amane, and they discuss Yuta and Itsuki's future marriage to Chitose. Itsuki mentions Amane proposing to Mahiru one day. Amane denies this. That afternoon, Amane finds Mahiru hugging a couch pillow at home. He thanks her for the chocolates. They discuss their gratitude for each other's help. Mahiru gets upset when Amane reveals his birthday but didn't tell her. Amane retorts that she never revealed hers to him. Mahiru gets defensive, but Amane plays it off. For White Day, Amane gives Mahiru a flower chain bracelet and a do-whatever-you-want ticket. Mahiru asks Amane to put the bracelet on her wrist. He does. Days later, Amane tells Itsuki about his White Day experience with Mahiru. Itsuki thinks Amane has developed feelings for Mahiru. Amane returns home to Mahiru dressed like a housewife. She disapproves of Amane eating fries with Itsuki, but rescinds her comment, saying Amane's too skinny anyway. Amane says Mahiru could use some extra meat. Mahiru dislikes being touched by other boys. Amane notices she's not wearing the bracelet. Mahiru explains it's bothersome for chores. As they talk, Amane changes clothes and internally notes Mahiru's housewife-like behavior. At school, Itsuki asks Amane to stay at his place for a few days after arguing with his father about Chitose. Amane accepts but notes he'll inform Mahiru first. After school, Mahiru greets Itsuki and prepares dinner for them. Before bed, Itsuki comments on Amane's kindness towards Mahiru, suggesting he likes her. He mentions everyone thinks Amane is an antisocial nerd, which Amane doesn't deny. Itsuki concludes that Mahiru truly respects Amane. The next day, Chitose learns Itsuki stayed at Amane's and ate Mahiru's food, so she decides to stay at Mahiru's. Despite Amane's disapproval, Mahiru approves. Amane asks about lunch and Mahiru answers omu rice, per Chitose's request. They enjoy lunch and everyone compliments Mahiru's cooking. The conversation becomes tense when Chitose calls Mahiru uptight, noting her aloofness at school. Chitose is happy to see Mahiru's cute and innocent side, but tenses the conversation by suggesting Mahiru could tame Amane with her sweetness, which Mahiru denies. Chitose sends Amane a picture of Mahiru with her teddy bear in pajamas. Amane becomes flustered. In return, Itsuki takes a picture of Amane and sends it to Chitose. The following day, Itsuki and Chitose leave, with Itsuki staying at Chitose's now. Amane and Mahiru discuss the picture Chitose sent. The conversation turns embarrassing when Mahiru believes she talked childishly about her teddy bear. Mahiru receives a text, but refuses to reveal the sender. Amane exits the elevator and overhears Mahiru's conversation with a woman chastising her. Approaching Mahiru, he learns the woman is her mother. Amane insists Mahiru stay with him to console her. Mahiru confesses her parents didn't marry for love but mutual interests and didn't plan on children. They only supported her financially, leading to her believing they never intended to raise her. Her housekeeper truly raised her. Despite her accomplishments, her parents never even acknowledged her, leading her to believe she's an idiot, and they'll sever ties after college. Mahiru reveals her mother called her an unwanted child. Amane consoles her. Mahiru reflects on the disparity between her peers' perception and her true self. Amane agrees and promises to protect her. Mahiru asks Amane to look at and hold her, which he does. Later, Mahiru and Amane walk and discuss the upcoming term. Mahiru hopes to be paired with Chitose. She hugs Amane, thanking him. They have a heart-to-heart about Mahiru's thoughts on spring and cherry blossoms, reminding her of loneliness. Second-year classroom assignments are released. Amane is assigned to Class 2A with Itsuki, Chitose, Mahiru, and Yuta. A brief interaction with Yuta causes Amane to recall a painful memory, but he brushes it off when asked if he's all right. At his apartment, Mahiru asks if Amane is okay, noting his dour look. Amane dismisses his mood, but Mahiru comments that his hair looks nice to touch. Uneasy, Amane allows Mahiru to touch his hair and lays on her lap as she does it. Mahiru disapproves of Amane's reticence and hopes he'll speak up, claiming it relieves a man's fatigue. They discuss their second-year class arrangement and agree to avoid interacting during class. Amane becomes drowsy, and Mahiru suggests he rests on her lap. He does so for an hour. The next day, Amane visits the arcade and returns home with a bag full of stuffed animal trophies, quote-unquote. He shows them to Mahiru, who takes a liking to the bunny. To repay Amane, Mahiru allows him to request something from her. He asks for homemade pudding with lots of eggs. The following day, Mahiru shops for eggs and makes the pudding Amane requested. He finds it delicious and notes Mahiru can prepare practically anything. She compliments her teacher for her skill. Amane feels self-conscious about calling her cooking delicious repeatedly. Upset, Mahiru tries to clean up, but Amane insists on doing it himself. Mahiru retreats to the couch, flustered, perplexing Amane. At school the next day, Yuta invites Itsuki and Amane to lunch. They agree. Itsuki claims Yuta is being nice to Amane. Yuta says he finds Amane nice and wants to befriend him. Amane notes no merit in their friendship, but Yuta isn't interested in that. Amane spots Mahiru giving him a disapproving look as she sits with Chitose. Later, at Amane's apartment, Mahiru sits on the couch, pouting. Amane asks if he did something wrong. Mahiru denies it and confesses she was being narrow-minded. She says she should apologize for her narrow-mindedness. Mahiru admits she's envious of Amane hanging around Itsuki, Yuta, and Chitose, but understands it would be weird if she did, as Amane is a boring nobody, quote-unquote. Irritated by Amane's self-deprecation, Mahiru hopes he gains more self-confidence. The next day, Mahiru pairs with Chitose, Itsuki, and Amane for a group cooking assignment. The following day, they prepare miso soup with green onions and scrambled eggs. When Mahiru goes to fetch salad, Amane saves her from being splashed with hot soup. He scolds the person responsible and makes him apologize. Amane downplays his act, but Mahiru expresses her gratitude. That night, Mahiru and Amane have a heart-to-heart about Mahiru trying to get close to Amane at school. Amane mentions the upcoming Golden Week. Mahiru uses her do-anything-you-want ticket to request Amane spend a day with her shopping and hanging out. Amane says using the ticket was unnecessary, but Mahiru insists. He asks about his task and their destination. Mahiru wants Amane to hold her bags and chooses a cat cafe for their outing. Afterward, they'll shop and play at an arcade. Amane agrees. The next day, Chitose, dressed in a maid outfit, learns to cook from Mahiru. Amane dozes off on the couch, waking up next to Mahiru. He suspects Chitose pranked him, but both Chitose and Mahiru deny it. Amane enjoys the food Mahiru and Chitose prepared. After Chitose leaves, Mahiru confesses she pranked Amane by touching his cheek and playing with his hair while he slept. Amane doesn't mind and rubs her cheek in return. Mahiru asks Amane's preference between prim and proper or mature looks for their outing. Amane initially gives an ambivalent answer, upsetting Mahiru, so he chooses prim and proper. Mahiru promises to wear something impressive. The following day, Mahiru visits Amane, self-conscious about her outfit. Amane finds her appearance appealing. They visit Cafe Mofu Mofu. A cat named Silk-chan sniffs Mahiru's finger but shows no affection, saddening her. Amane cheers her up, suggesting they get a drink. Mahiru hesitates to drink her cat-shaped foam coffee, but does so at Amane's insistence, getting a milk mustache. Amane takes a picture, finding it amusing. Later, Silk-chan sits on Amane's lap and Leo-kun sits on Mahiru's lap. Amane compares Silk to Mahiru, which she disapproves of. They walk through the mall holding hands. Amane notes a dress would look good on Mahiru. Despite her doubts, she tries it on. While waiting, two ladies approach Amane, but Mahiru pulls him away before he can respond. At the arcade, Amane helps Mahiru win a cat doll resembling Silk. Mahiru gives the doll to Amane. Yuta appears, mistaking them for a couple. They explain their relationship, and Mahiru asks Yuta not to disclose it. Yuta promises not to. At the train station, Amane apologizes about Yuta finding out. Mahiru doesn't mind, as everything turned out well. They discuss Yuta's relationship with Amane saying positive things about him. The next day, Amane, Yuta, and Itsuki hang out at a karaoke bar. Yuta asks about Amane's day with Mahiru. Amane refuses to detail anything, but Itsuki suggests Amane and Mahiru's relationship is like having a wife in training. Amane denies it, but Yuta agrees with Itsuki and advises Amane to be open about his feelings toward Mahiru. Later, Amane returns home. Mahiru hides something, admitting it's pictures of Amane that his mother sent her. Both feel embarrassed by the situation. Mahiru asks Amane his plans for Mother's Day. Amane explains why he refuses to return home, recounting how a trio of students used him for money in junior high. This incident led him to distrust others and move to his current apartment to transfer schools. Mahiru admits she would have punched them if she had been there. Amane reassures her it's all right, but Mahiru argues he shouldn't shoulder his pain alone. She offers her support, leading to a heart-to-heart conversation. Mahiru embraces Amane and asks him to confide in her. Amane becomes uneasy and tries to leave after a brief disagreement, but he stops and hugs her from behind. They argue about their selfishness. The next day, Amane starts jogging to build strength. At school, he overhears Mahiru being questioned about a guy she was seen with at the mall. Mahiru confirms it was a date, quote-unquote, but clarifies they're not in a formal relationship, considering him a dear friend. At Amane's apartment, Mahiru informs him her answer was honest. She considers Amane her closest friend and wants him to gain self-confidence. Amane mentions her wording could be misinterpreted, but Mahiru assures him her popularity will prevent that. During dinner, Amane tells Mahiru he's been in training to build strength as a matter of pride. Mahiru offers to indulge his wishes as a present, but expects a favor in return. Amane asks her to practice saying her favor. Mahiru asks to be patted on the head, admitting she likes his touch. That night, Amane has an arousing dream and wakes up in a cold sweat. The next day at school, Chitose and Mahiru notice Amane's fatigue. He lies, claiming he's tired from running. Mahiru suggests he go straight home, but Amane brushes it off. After school, Mahiru asks if Amane is angry with her. He admits she almost seduced him in a dream and tries not to think of her that way. Mahiru demands to know more to prevent it in the future. Sure. She's content with his innocence and being the first lady he's had contact with. The second year's first semester midterm schedule is released. Amane informs Mahiru about a study party with Itsuki and Yuta. Mahiru promises to make enough food for everyone and asks to join. Amane allows it. Unsurprised, Chitose is invited too. Mahiru promises to do whatever Amane asks if he makes it into the top 10. Flustered, Amane requests to lie on her lap again. Mahiru accepts and offers to clean his ears as a bonus. Okay, so gross, so good. The next day, Itsuki and the others arrive. Yuta comments on how natural Mahiru looks in the apartment. They study together, eat lunch, and call it a day. After their guests leave, Mahiru serves Amane coffee. They have a heart-to-heart about Mahiru's caring nature. At school, Amane places 6th among the top 30 second-year students in the first-term exam. Mahiru approaches him, congratulates him, and suggests he treat himself. Amane agrees and suggests Mahiru do the same for placing first, but she declines, not wanting to spoil herself. That evening, at Amane's apartment, he asks Mahiru to reward herself by having him help her with anything she'd like. Mahiru asks Amane to help her prepare cucumbers. He reluctantly agrees. Later, Mahiru cleans Amane's ears as his reward for making the top 10. You go, Amane! Amane enjoys the interaction but gets flustered when he turns to face Mahiru for his left ear. After finishing, Mahiru plays with Amane's hair with his permission. She enjoys it when Amane does this to her and asks him to do it more often. Amane thinks she's spoiling herself. Amane wakes from Mahiru's lap and tries to wake her, but she's too tired to move. With Mahiru's permission, Amane takes her to her apartment to sleep. Once on her bed, Mahiru wakes up and asks Amane to rest beside her. Despite his refusal, Mahiru insists, so Amane leaves a teddy bear substitute instead. The following day, Mahiru visits Amane at his apartment. Amane figures she's there to retrieve her key, but Mahiru says that's not her reason. After returning her key, Mahiru asks if Amane saw the picture on her desk. Amane says he didn't and wonders if he did something to it. Mahiru informs him he didn't, and it's good he didn't see it. Amane explains what Mahiru requested and what he did instead. A scene occurs between them, leading to a debate on their sleeping habits. Later, Yuta, Itsuki, and Amane play basketball as Mahiru and Chitose watch. The next morning, Mahiru visits Amane and asks his opinion on her summer outfit. Amane becomes disconcerted that she's not wearing stockings and suggests she wear them. They debate, and Mahiru agrees to wear them. After school, Amane agrees to join Yuta in watching a movie, but Mahiru approaches them and informs them she was assigned to staple sports day printouts. The boys decide to help Mahiru instead of going to the movies. Upon finishing, they overhear girls speaking disparagingly of Mahiru, upsetting Amane, but not Mahiru. That evening at Amane's apartment, Mahiru and Amane have a heart-to-heart. Mahiru confesses a minority of her female peers speak ill of her all the time, but it doesn't affect her. Amane opines that those who dislike her may think she'll steal Yuta away. Mahiru claims Yuta isn't her type, noting there isn't much between them besides popularity. Their conversation shifts to Mahiru's personality change since Amane first met her. Mahiru admits her angelic and good-natured act has grown tiresome and she wants to be her true self. However, she won't change her personality at school just yet. Amane admits his feelings about the boys in their class thinking of Mahiru when she changes. Mahiru smiles and calls Amane cute, leading to an intimate scene between them. Mahiru sits next to Amane on his couch, admitting that she sees something special in him. Amane restrains Mahiru, warning her that next time he won't use his hand. Upon release, Mahiru kisses Amane's cheek and leaves, shocking him. The following day, Chitose asks Mahiru about her sports day plans. Mahiru expresses interest in the scavenger hunt. Amane enters the classroom and Itsuki notices his coldness towards Mahiru. During lunch, Itsuki asks Amane about his relationship with Mahiru. Amane explains the previous day's events. Itsuki and Yuta offer their thoughts. That afternoon, Amane sits sadly on his couch. Mahiru joins him, apologizing for her behavior. Amane brushes it off and asks why she did it. Mahiru says she got carried away or wanted revenge. Amane admits he did it first, and Mahiru argues she had the right. The next day, Chitose learns she's on the red team, while Amane and Itsuki are on the white team. That night, Amane asks Mahiru about her sports day choices. She answers the relay and the scavenger race. Amane chose the grab bag and scavenger race. They share ice cream and Amane makes coffee. On sports day, Amane and Yuta watch Chitose's track run. Yuta explains why Chitose didn't join the track team in high school. After the race, Chitose approaches Amane and discusses the scavenger race. During the race, Mahiru and Amane team up, drawing attention. At the finish line, Chitose reads their cards. During lunch, the boys question Amane about Mahiru. He explains, and Mahiru admonishes them. She confirms Amane is dear to her and lists his positive traits. The boys walk off, and Mahiru invites Amane to eat lunch with her. That evening, Amane sits contemplatively on his couch. Mahiru joins him, admitting she has questions. Amane allows her to go first. Mahiru apologizes for her actions, which Amane expected and didn't hold against her. Amane apologizes for being a coward, but Mahiru admits she's the same. Amane claims she wasn't selfish and embraces her, admitting his feelings. He vows to reach her level one day. Amane asks Mahiru to be his girlfriend, and she agrees. Thank you for watching this video. We love the world of anime, and we hope you do too. And we hope you like these recaps. Let us know in the comments below how are you feeling about them. And while you're at it, and you know what I'm going to say, please subscribe and hit the notification bell to make sure you know exactly when our next recap comes out. Okay, thanks so much, guys. See you next time. Bye.